What happens when two dudes, one a retired Navy SEAL commander in Colorado Springs, and the other a hippie meditation teacher in New York City, get together to discuss living mindfully? That's a great question, because we don't know what will happen either. Raw, uncut, and unapologetic. Welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness with co-hosts John McCaskill and Will Schneider. Each week, we take an authentic dive into how mindfulness continually impacts our lives, deepens our relationships, and allows us to be emotionally alive. We filter all of our conversations through the man box, where we unpack how as men we are expected to act in society, how fighting the authentic human experience is exhausting and damaging, and how mindfulness can help. If you would like to listen live, join Will and John every Friday at 12:30 Eastern Time on IG Live at handle @WillNotFear. We take each IG episode and upload them straight to this podcast. So happy you're tuning in to Men Talking Mindfulness. Now, on to the show.
Hi guys, it's Will, waiting for John. Men Talking Mindfulness again today, episode 15, episode 15. How cool is that? And today we're going to be talking, hey Diane, we're going to be talking about anger and masculinity, which is pretty, I don't know, we'll see what happens. Here comes John in about 10 seconds. Let's do this. Let's get John. And thanks again for showing up, guys. I'm excited, honestly a little nervous about today's topic too. So John is connecting, and there he is. Look at that blue sky.
Hey brother, what's going on?
Good to see you. How are you?
I'm well, man. Yeah, it's a blue sky today, but 2 days ago it was snowing here. So it's it's pretty wild weather.
That's I have a brother that lived there for a couple of years, and he goes, one day he'd be at the pool, 80 degrees, next day, like 7 inches of snow and like 35 degrees or something.
That's exactly how it was, dude. On Monday, I was at the pool with my little ones, putting sunscreen on, and it was 84, 85 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. And by Tuesday morning, it was 24 degrees.
Wow.
And the snow started then and didn't stop until the following morning. I mean, it didn't accumulate a whole lot because the ground was warm, but anyway, bottom line is, the weather's crazy. And tomorrow it's going to be up in the 80s again, and I'll be back in the pool. So wild, man.
Hey, good for you. But I keep checking in on the house. How's the house? You guys are
we close next week.
I mean, and now everyone's curious, John. Like, what's up with the house?
People want to know. So we close next week. Hopefully next week when we talk, I will have a house that we own, but we'll be renting it back to the sellers for a couple weeks for them to get settled and get out of the house. But funny enough, our discussion is on anger. And there's a little bit of I'm like,
John.
I won't classify as anger so much as anxiousness. I'm just ready to get into a house, right? So we found the place, I don't know, forever ago. There's a plane flying over me, you can probably hear it. Anyway, we found it forever ago, put in an offer, got accepted, and we've just been playing this waiting game. The waiting game is starting to wear on my nerves. So luckily I have mindfulness as a practice. And I sit regularly and try to decompress a little. So that's helpful. But I'm looking forward to the conversation on anger and what drives that, specifically on the masculine side and how that is perceived and everything. So always looking forward to these conversations, and I always come out of them with more energy and more knowledge and just, I don't know, more zest. So hopefully the viewers get that same, and it's not just you and me running our sucks for 45 minutes and nothing comes of it.
It's all good. I enjoy this all too, John. I'm excited for today, but I really appreciated how you've been grounding us in the beginning. Do you want to take care of that? We kind of
let's do
a little
that.
meditation.
Let's do it.
I'm just gonna kind of get some of the sun out of my face. Give me a second here.
Yeah.
It's actually cloudy, but try to adjust the lights.
Well, hopefully I'm on the Wi-Fi here, and sometimes the Wi-Fi is less than great. Is my image coming through okay?
Yeah, you said you look great, John,
Okay.
and
All right.
your and your picture's clear.
All right, solid. I mean, it's all in how you look, man.
Yeah, you know what? That's what mindfulness is all about, John. Just kidding.
Yeah. No, I just feel bad because like a couple weeks ago I was on the Wi-Fi here and I didn't realize until after when you posted the video that it was all like digitized and it looked terrible. So, yeah. All right. Not that people want to stare at my ugly mug. The digitized image may have looked better, but yeah. Oh, let's go ahead and get grounded. So I'm planting my feet on the ground and I'm putting my hands on my thighs today just to really have some type of tactile sensation that I can use as an anchor. But whatever looks and feels comfortable for you, go ahead and assume that position. And then we'll start with just a few cleansing breaths. So close your eyes if that's comfortable. If not, I invite you to just soften your gaze or soften your focus. And then bring your attention to your breath. Don't force it. Bring your awareness to your breathing. And now take one deep breath in through your nose. Hold it. And out through your mouth. Deep belly breath. Fill your belly. Then your chest. And out through your mouth. One more deep belly breath. Then expand your chest. Hold it. And out through your mouth. Now expand your awareness from your breath to your other senses. Notice your feet planted on the ground, what that actually feels like. Notice the ground or your shoes against your feet. Notice each individual toe. And now further expand your awareness to your hands and your thighs. Notice the sensation of your hands touching your thighs and your thighs touching your hands. Then bring your awareness to your posture. Try to sit up straight, back strong, front soft. And now bring your awareness to your thoughts and your emotions. Your thoughts may be bouncing around. That's okay if they are. Just gently bring it back to one of those anchors before: your hands, your feet, your breath. And then what are you feeling? What are you experiencing? What emotions are running through your body and your mind? And how are they manifesting? close with 5 deep cleansing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose, out through your mouth. One, in through your nose, out through your mouth. 2, in through your nose, three, 2 more, in through your nose, out through your mouth. 4, 1, last one. Concentrate on the actual sensation of the breath. Out through your mouth. And then bring some movement back to your body. Sometimes just doing a mindfulness practice can actually make you more aware of some tension that you're holding in your shoulders, your neck, your belly. You may take some movement to work that out. And then when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Come back to the here, the now, which you never should have left.
Yeah.
We're practicing mindfulness. It's the here and now.
Right.
But yeah, now we're going to jump into the conversation.
I love it.
Yeah.
I thought, John, I thought it'd be good to start, if you'd like. We put together that list the other day of things that that are interesting for this discussion, and I thought maybe running through that list, just to kind of, bring up the ideas and the memories and the feelings, and then also, what we can do is, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted, and then we'll start.
Come on, man.
I know, I'm sorry. And then dissecting them one by one, if you like, or we might have to do this another day or something like that, another time, just to get through it. But I apologize. So here we go. So here's some questions about anger. How anger feeds and fuels our masculine kind of hive mentality, like us as a group.
Yeah.
What are the most common triggers of our anger? So instead of it being as a group, how are we activated by anger? What are the actions we take through anger? What are the results of those actions? Just to kind of look at, and then how we manage our anger so we can create different and have more productive or amicable outcomes, right? So kind of shifting our anger. So that's kind of, I think it'd be a good, so what's the hive mentality of a masculine hive mentality around anger, triggers of anger on our own, of ours, actions we take because of that anger, what are results? I'll even throw in there, also anger can be good in some ways. So even talking about how anger can create like determination and drive.
Sure.
And, so
so the hive mentality, man, I'll take that one step further than sorry, I'm getting distracted now. But I'll take it one step further, right? Than just the masculine hive mentality, but masculine hive mentality. And then, I mean, in the job that I've been doing for years, it's the warrior mentality, and it's kind of this misperception that anger is masculine. Anger is the emotion that you should jump to. Hey, I'm a warrior. Damn it, I got to get out on the battlefield. I mean, like football teams, right? Just about any team sports.
Right.
You get hyped up before the game, right? You all get in a circle and hype one another up, and it's really that is the next level of that is anger, and I think that we carry forward from our youth, where we played on sports teams or maybe in a combat role, that anger is misperceived as something that is productive on the battlefield, productive on the football field, productive on the sports field, productive wherever. And you did
Yeah.
mention that there's times when anger can be good, and I want to dissect that a little bit too, because I don't know that anger is necessarily good, but the precursors of anger, getting hyped up, getting motivated, getting inspired,
Right.
those are all great.
Right.
But
Right.
I think at some point, sometimes we take it to the next level, and we apply it
Well,
maybe incorrectly.
I think you know, I think anger could be like you mentioned. I like when you said inspiration. Like if I
Yeah,
get angry, like something doesn't go the way that I want, or something happens to me, that I feel wronged, and I get angry, right?
yeah,
I mean, so if I take actions, or words or passive aggressive that are like kind of violent in some regard, like those outcomes are obviously, going to not be the way that I want them to be,
sure.
or they might be shortcut, if I, for a bad example, like if I punch somebody in the face because of anger, I might feel good in that moment, but like I'm not going to. I mean, we're talking like men, John. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I know. We should fucking open up every MTM like this, right? I think like so. Yeah, I might get a short, temporary, like, oh, that felt good, but the guilt the next day, or the results that this guy like calls the cops on me, or
Right.
like that sort of thing, like those are negative outcomes, which and a warrior, or like a true master, never raises his sword, which I think is like, whoa, instead of like boom, it's just like, hey, how can we find peace in some ways? But anger, I feel, can really be, if it's used in an inspiring sense, can be a great means of determination, of getting even like a little bit more aggressive, to find more drive, to get more stuff done. So it could be a
Yeah,
good impetus, I feel, anger,
right.
in some ways, but you got to be careful of how we react to anger
For sure.
initially. I think is a really key point about anger, is like, is not act, especially when I'm angry, John. One thing that I've learned, or even emotional, but definitely angry, emotional, but like anger obviously is an emotion, is I do not make a determination, or I do not make an answer, or I do not take an action in that emotional state.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's very strong of you to do that, because I mean that's normally by the time you get to the anger phase, you're not thinking as rationally as you could be, or you should
Right.
be,
Right.
and that causes you to do things that are completely irrational, and you don't gain any progress from them. I mean, like, stupid example. Okay, so
Yeah.
that I experienced this week. So I've got a dog. She's still a puppy. I mean, she's 1 year old, but she's not very obedient. And here at the RV park, there's a dog park, and I take her to the dog park, and I let her out in the dog park, and it was just the two of us, and she's great when it's just the two of us. Tons of fun. And then two other dogs come up, and they're great dogs. They come in the dog park. Their owner lets them loose. The dogs play like dogs do. But then I'm like, okay, I've got to go. It's time for me to leave. So I call my dog, and she doesn't come. And I'm like, and then I walk over to her, and she thinks it's a game, and so she runs away from me. And so I call her, and she doesn't come. And so I start getting a little upset at her. Not angry yet, but I'm a little upset. But then I'm also embarrassed. Like, these other people are in the dog park, and they see me with this dog, and they're like, what's up with this dude? Or at least this is the story that I'm telling myself, going back to the Brene Brown, right? The story that I'm telling myself is, these people think I'm stupid because I can't get my dog. So that embarrassment turns into anger. And then I grabbed the leash, and I like threw it down as hard as I could on the ground. And I may have dropped an F-bomb here or there. And,
You probably did,
then,
John.
yeah. And then in my mind, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I was embarrassed by these people seeing me not being able to get my dog. And now I just responded in anger, and they saw me do that. And now I'm even more embarrassed, and I'm even like, everything just escalates. So with anger, I think you're right. I think there's a level of it where it can definitely be something that drives you, something that maybe you're seeing an enemy of yours do well, and you want to continue to do well. I don't know. And you want to outdo that enemy.
Right.
I mean, on the battlefield, that's obviously what we want, right? But at some point, your actions, you need to take a step back and say, okay, what's actually driving my anger? What's driving those actions? It's embarrassment. And I'm embarrassed because the story that I'm telling myself is these people are judging me because I can't get my dog. When in actuality, what's probably happening is they don't give a shit.
No,
they don't know me.
Exactly.
And even if they did, why do I give a shit what they think?
You're right.
I shouldn't. I don't know them.
Right. And they could be thinking
so.
They can come back and be thinking like, oh yeah, my dog used to do that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they
exactly.
Sympathize with it. You know, they
Exactly, right. And so the story I tell myself makes me go into this spiral that is completely irrational. But yeah, going back to the hive mentality, man. I've got this book here. I don't know if you can see the title. It's probably backwards, but it says "The Dad Who Didn't Know," and it's actually a mindfulness book by this club called the Conscious Bedtime Story Club. It's a children's book.
Right.
But the title, "The Dad Who Didn't Know," it basically goes into a father who thinks the story he's telling himself is, hey, I'm the dad here. I'm the man in this family unit. I need to know everything. But he doesn't. I mean, because you can't, right? And so the story he tells himself is, I'm not good enough. I'm failing as a father. I'm failing as a man. And I think that's what a lot of us do in life as men is we think that we need to know everything. We think that we need to be in control of everything. And when we're not, when we don't know everything, when we're not in control of everything, we get upset, we get sad, and then that emotion turns into anger, confusion, depression. And I think that's where a lot of us men reside a lot of the time is in that fine line between sadness, confusion, and anger, and even depression.
I think anger is so for most men in the United States, for men that I know in my family, most of the men that I know, outside of the yoga world, even in the yoga world, anger a lot is rewarded. So there's a feedback loop. That
totally.
We're sad, we're embarrassed, we failed, right? We get fucking angry, because it's so easily triggered because it's always been so easily or so readily rewarded. And I think that's where a lot of us get caught up. And because often the results of that anger, there's some sort of result, we might not be thinking long term with those results, that the results could be better if I approached it through A, B, and C instead of X, Y, and Z. And then we really never take that step back like you're talking about, to reflect on like what's really going on right here, and like why am I doing this, or why do I feel this way? So it's like, I think what mindfulness is helpful, with our meditation at the beginning, even just getting in touch with yourself, getting in touch with your emotions, creating distance from yourself, your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, so you can take that step back, right? And create a little bit of that, or have that broader perspective. So instead of just it being like this one focal point, like I got to get that motherfucker or whatever, you can take a broader perspective, be like, wait, like these elements also come into play in order for me to be effective in what really is my intention and really what I want in that situation.
Sure.
So,
and you mentioned I want to get that dude.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I mean,
I've been listening to David Goggins, and he uses the F word all the time. So I'm bringing the F word.
Hey, that's a great audio book, isn't it? Yeah. So, I got to go back like we did last week to our high school memories and kind of relive our glory days. Yeah. But in high school, I was dating this girl, and a guy came up to me and kind of bumped into me while I was talking to my girlfriend, and he and I had already had some tension between us, but he actively bumped into me trying to prove his manhood. So that was his anger, right?
Yeah.
Well, I turned
bravado
around
again. Here we go.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, are we seriously that bad? We're like our silverback brothers, like the gorillas. But that's what it seems like. Yeah. So So like, I turned around because I was embarrassed that he had bumped into me as hard as he did in front of my girlfriend. And I was like, I've got to defend my manhood here. So I turned around and I clocked him. I mean, we got into a major fight. Both of us got suspended from school. I had to sit out because I was running track and cross country. I had to sit out from one of the events because my coach was like, "Hey, you're an idiot. We have to punish you in some form or fashion." So, the action that I took was driven by anger, but was it really? No, it was really driven by embarrassment. I was embarrassed, right? And going back to your statement about the warrior, the true warrior never lifts his sword.
Oh yeah, true
well,
master.
If I had,
true
master. If I had been in control of myself at the time, I would have just sloughed it off and been like, hey, to my girlfriend, I would have been like, hey, he's trying to prove something. I don't need to fight him. There's no reason I need to prove my masculinity in high school. But the being rewarded piece, after I got into a fight with that guy, all my buddies were like, good job, dude. You kicked his ass, right?
Yeah.
and then I was like, yeah, I did. What's up?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So I walked around like I was the freaking, I don't know, but I walked around like I was a tough guy.
Man, ultimate warrior at school.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Masculine.
Yeah, but then when I got home and I told my dad I'd been suspended, then I felt shame. I was like, oh, well, the one man that I truly hold as a hero in my eyes is my father, and he didn't say anything to me. He just kind of looked at me disappointed and didn't say anything, and that drove shame. And then I was angry at myself for having lost control. So I wasn't that master. I had picked up my sword, my fist, right, in that particular instance, and I had gotten into a fight, and then I felt great about it. I was like, yeah, this is rewarded. But then the person that I cared about the most was upset with me, and that caused shame. There's so many emotions that can drive anger, but then there's also so many emotions that anger drives afterwards. Like I was ashamed of myself at the dog park the other day for throwing down the leash, and I was like, what did I just accomplish? If anything, I probably embarrassed myself further, scared my dog so she's not going to come to me.
Right.
So what my rational mind, thinking with that prefrontal cortex, instead of getting that amygdala hijacking, my rational mind would have been like, hey, stop what you're doing. Whatever it is you're doing isn't working.
Yeah.
And the next day I found a new method to get my dog, and she comes to me now, and it's whatever. She's great.
Yeah.
But now, if I see those people in the dog park, they're like, there's that weirdo that, or there again, I'm probably telling myself.
Here you are interpreting what you think they're thinking. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
Well, I think it's, but I gotta say, John, just that little, that moment in your life with the dog, like, this is how we change things, right?
Yeah.
By being aware, like, man, that was like, why would I, get angry at my lovely dog,
Yeah.
And then, feel like you embarrass yourself. And then you have this moment where like, oh, but now we're talking about it, which is great,
Yes.
so we can reflect, right?
It's therapeutic.
And then, but, I like to think of all of these, what mindfulness really helps me do is not just create that separation, but it allows me to realize that life is just nothing but a big feedback loop. I tried this, right? It didn't work. I'll try something else. Or I'll take that information and try something else. So it's just like, and I guess the place that I'm, as I can continue to become more of a mindful man, that definitely has anger issues sometimes, like, I mean, and I'll talk about those in a second, or like what anger turns me into, is I'm just trying to really be neutral, not trying to be overly emotional, overly reactionary, but not be like a pushover. And, I just talked to a friend that went through last night, he went through the Vipassana meditation, which is 10 days, 10 meditations a day, an hour each meditation, in complete silence. Like, it's really an amazing experience. And he's about 4 days out. And, And I feel if you practice enough mindfulness, this is where it can take you, is he's like Teflon. Nothing sticks to him. Everything just slides right off. Everything is okay. He's just in this zone of like, I can handle anything. And I think that's kind of that's where I feel the master is. The master that doesn't raise his sword. He's, he comes with compassion, for your dog, for that moment, like for that particular situation, and kindness and understanding and a relaxed state of feelings and mentality. And I say all these things like I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I get it, and it works very well. But sometimes I don't, but that's, I think, but it's like, I love this conversation we're evolving, especially the example with the dog, because, that's just a little slice of life. And
right.
Even in those, what we feel are just kind of these, just these, daily moments in life are actually a great tool or a great teaching tool as well, because anger, just because it increases in intensity doesn't mean it's not the same anger you feel at your dog, or if your buddy bumps you, or somebody hits you with their car, or your car, so just being aware of it and not reacting to it is really what is where we're trying to, like, I guess, kind of starting to get people to understand, and that's what I want to continue to understand, is not reacting to anger. Right.
And this comes back to a conversation we had about a month ago, maybe a little bit more, about resilience.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're truly resilient, then you're not going to be as hyped up by your emotions. You're not going to be as much of a victim of your emotions. You're going to experience the good, which is great, and the bad is just going to kind of bounce off of you like the Teflon, like you mentioned. Rick Hansen, and I think I even mentioned this when we were discussing resilience. Rick Hansen, a very well-known guy in the mindfulness space, has written tons of books, wrote The Buddha's Brain and Resilience. He speaks about the inverse, about, you just mentioned your buddy being like Teflon and nothing bad sticks to him. But in everyday life, where we are is we actually have a negativity bias where most things that are negative stick to us.
All right.
And things that are good kind of slide off us like Teflon.
Right.
And so, like, if somebody tells us, hey, great job, we may hear that. But if somebody tells us, hey, you screwed this up, you're a shitbag, that's going to stick. And we're going to be like, that's going to drive our sadness, which then turns into embarrassment, which then turns into anger. So we really have to practice that resilience, which is helped by practicing mindfulness, in order to flip it to where now we receive the good and the negative kind of bounces off us like your buddy, because that's where it all starts. It's how we perceive and receive things that are said or done to us in our lives.
Yeah.
I mean, my dog, right? I got angry because I was perceiving in my mind that she was ignoring me, when I'm an idiot, first of all, but she's a puppy, and she just thinks I'm playing, and I should have taken that a lot differently, lightheartedly, and been more resilient about it. So received it as something good, and not been like, oh, this dog is snubbing me. I mean, really? She's my puppy.
I know. Here it is again, John. The stories we're making up in our mind about situations and people and circumstances. It's like, and then that feeds the anger, and it's like we get caught in this loop of like, and lost in this fucking dream that doesn't even exist. There's like no fact or tangible evidence to support anything that's in our mind. It's just like, it's just thought loops that are just convoluting and making us just more crazy and more emotional. Yeah.
I mean, and it literally releases chemicals that just cause that downward spiral.
Right. I mean, that's the fuel.
It fuels the fire. Right. And if we can
cut out a little bit, John.
Damn it, dude. The time limit
about
on my
seconds. So my bad. You cut out about 10 seconds.
yeah.
So what were you saying?
No,
Sorry.
it was my time limit again. It was my time limit on Instagram.
Okay. Got it. Good for you. Yeah,
it got me again. So next week, remind me at the front edge of these conversations. Turn off your freaking time limit on Instagram.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I'm gonna make a note. Gotcha.
So anyway, what I was saying is, you got to get ahead of those emotions, get ahead of those chemical releases,
Right.
And you know, rather than all the stress chemicals that are released when we start to get stressed, when we start to get angry, we take a step back, maybe take a few breaths, tap into our parasympathetic nervous system, and get control, because that's the true sign of manliness. That's the true sign of a warrior, is somebody who can control their emotions, control their response.
Yeah, I want to say, I feel like, the master is always trying to negotiate peace in some ways. Peace with the circumstance, peace with the situation, peace with themselves, peace with other people in some ways, and trying to make it, because we live together. We live together as people. And the more that we can get into, or even just create a space of peace, collaboration, and coordinating things together, or at least just like, not taking things so personal in so many regards. Like, that's where we really begin to really change and really begin to understand, I feel, our masculinity in we're wired as men to like find a solution or to fix a problem, and we might be able to do it in that circumstance if we create that space. Or maybe it's just like, like anything I say or do, or any anger or emotion that I inject right now into this situation might just make it worse. So just taking a step back and not doing anything is, I'm finding quite often, is the best first course of action sometimes. Just zooming out.
And spot on, man. And sometimes those attempts to fix things, when they're not received the way that we think they should be received, then we get angry. There's a great satire commercial. I'm sure you've seen it, but it's a couple. They're sitting on a couch, and it shows them from behind first, and the girl, I don't know if she's a wife or a girlfriend or whatever, but she's saying, there's just some tension, and it feels like I really need to take something out of my head. And then the camera kind of pans around, and the husband or the boyfriend starts talking, and he's like, hey, well, if you just remove this nail, and there's a freaking nail in her forehead, and he's like, if you just take that out, you won't feel the tension anymore. Like, he's trying to fix the problem. And she's like, it's not about the nail. It's not about the nail. And so he gets upset because there's an obvious problem that can be fixed, but really all she wants to do is talk. So after this, if you haven't seen it, check out It's Not About the Nail. But that's a common saying in our marriage now, is sometimes my wife is just wanting to talk to me about something, and about a stress or a tension that she's experiencing, and I'm like, I am man, I will fix this. and then she turns around and she's like, hey babe, it's not about the nail. And which means, hey, all I need you to do is listen to me. And that sets me back. I'm like, oh, I don't need to fix this, which is great in two ways. One, my approach to fixing it isn't shut down immediately because I don't have to fix it. And then two, the stress that was on my shoulders now, because I feel like I need to fix it, is no longer there. It's just, hey, all I need to do is listen. I can do that.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my God, you just saved me a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I get it.
Yeah, good. I mean, great stuff, John. Really good stuff. I'll talk about my anger a little bit. Please. I'll tell you what anger does to me. And this is something I'm really trying to work with, when I get angry, or if something doesn't go my way, I really get this kind of, and I had this when I was young, like this kind of like, fuck you mentality, And I won't
Yep.
say it to your face, or maybe I will, right? But that's when I'll be like, start taking things, you know, just, or not like stealing things, but just like, okay, I'm not doing that, not contacting that person, you know, like I just start cutting things out, or cutting those people out, or like,
Yeah.
or getting passive aggressive, which is like, you know, or saying things that can be received or perceived in like multiple ways to create confusion, which is another like, fuck you.
Right.
And it's like, you know, and here's an example. And this guy, when I was young, I think I was like maybe 13 or 14. This is back in like, what, 88, 87 or something like that. 85 maybe. And my parents got a camcorder camera, you know, from Sony. And it was like,
Yeah.
wow, we have a fucking camera in our house. It's like, you know, I mean, think back in
Oh
the
yeah,
80s,
dude. I
it was
remember
like,
those things. They were like this big.
yeah, this little Sony. It wasn't, you know, my dad got a really nice one, you know, and I remember I was really excited, and you know, this moment could have really changed the course of my life in some ways. You know, so we'd go on these trips, and I started, you know, recording the family in certain situations, but not having any technical skills on camera. Just be like, shoot that, you know, and I'd like pan really quickly over something else, or move quickly with the camera. So I remember the first time my family went back and we started watching some of this, they started making fun of me, you know, and started saying, oh my God, I feel sick. The camera's moving so much. And I got embarrassed, and I was like, fuck you all, to myself. Right. And I never picked up that camera again. Never.
Shit, man. I'm getting angry right now because my freaking connection dropped there for a second. But
Oh, okay.
yeah. So if you could catch me up, so
Yeah.
you got the camera, you started filming stuff. You didn't have the ability. Yeah.
I just didn't have the technical know-how, you know, how to properly use it, like pan slowly, you know what I mean? Like my mom was really good about that. Like, but I remember sitting there the first time watching what I had recorded, you know, thinking like, oh, it's going to be fun to see what the family's doing. Yeah. And they completely bashed it because of how shitty the recording was.
Yeah.
And I got so angry and so upset and felt so embarrassed that I never picked up the camera again.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And
well, I mean,
I enjoy storytelling. I enjoy people, you know, I enjoy colors and all that kind of stuff. And my mom was kind of good about it. And she was like, oh, you just got to pan slowly. And I remember my mom asking me, like, on a trip that we did 6 months later, and she goes, Billy, do you want to use the camera? Like, no, you don't get that part of me anymore. And I was all anger. And I see those kind of situations, some of them keep playing out, but also, you know, being a mature man, being, you know, trying to be as mindful as I can and practicing, every day. How do I not be that fuck you self?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, I'm curious.
And it's not easy. It's not easy, but I'm trying to. One thing I'm doing, sometimes I'll just talk about it, be like, I'm sorry, I'm just really frustrated, a little angry right now, you know, with that person. I'll be like, don't take this personal, but like, I'm just having a hard time dealing with this right now, but we can talk about it in a day or whatever, you know?
And that's you being in control. I mean, it feels the same. It feels like anger, but you've gotten a handle on it, and you know that you need to step back from a situation. You need to step back from a person. You need to step back from whatever it is. And you can diffuse the situation, right?
Yeah, great point.
Yeah, I'm curious with the video camera scenario, if that had gone differently. You mentioned right before, you said this may have changed the trajectory of your life.
Yeah.
Where do you see how that would have changed? Do you think you would have been a Hollywood producer?
Well, you know, great question. Like I really don't know the answer for that, but something would have changed if I would have had the camera more often in front of me.
Yeah.
You know, if I would have been able to access or begin to develop those creative skills.
Yeah.
I don't know what could have happened, you know, like, cause I really enjoy, you know, using the camera phone now to like capture, you know, certain events that I'm a part of or teaching or, you know, and I just enjoy the creative process. and storytelling is a beautiful creative process, and that's what the camera allows you to do. So yeah. I don't know what it could have turned into, but you know, like, but looking back, right, if I was to do it again, you know, but that's also kind of, that's 4 men in the same house with 1 mom, right? Hive mentality, a lot of competition, rewarded, anger, you know, also brother, you know, I have 2 brothers. They're always trying to pick at you to get, I remember picking at my brothers to get them angry. So they flip off, so they look like an asshole, and I can laugh at them. You know, it's like, you know, it's kind of a vicious cycle. And then it's like, here we are, you know, like, on my, you know, I'm not with, you know, I see my family, but I don't hang out with them all the time because I'm not living with them. But trying to unwind, you know, all of that programming and habits because of that program.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, man. That unwinding, because we're like a spool, and we just spool up, right? And having to unwind that and unwind each like event. So I mean, even in this conversation, we've unwound. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I guess past tense.
Oh man, we're showing our ignorance, or at least I'm showing mine. So anyway,
good, John.
We're unwinding this, and you've unwound your camera story. I've unwound, you know, this guy that embarrassed me in high school that I ended up fighting. Unwound the dog thing. But how much more anger, how many more events of anger that ended up spiraling into something completely negative do we have to unwind in our lives? And I think that's where another place that mindfulness can really come into play is sitting and just being quiet with yourself, and maybe for a particular instance, focusing on what anger has done in your life.
Right. Yeah.
And who have you hurt because you were angry? I mean, I will be completely transparent with you. I'm on my 2nd marriage, and my first marriage was rocky, both because of some shit that I experienced in combat, but also because I wasn't in control of my emotions. And I mean, nor was she. We were just like oil and water, or fuel and fire, or whatever.
Yeah.
And looking back, when I sit down and I take stock of who I am, and you know what I've had control of, who I've hurt because I didn't have control of my emotions. My ex-wife is one of those people. You know, I hurt her, not physically, but emotionally, and quite often that's far worse than physical pain, right?
God,
the emotional pain that we can inflict on others, and the fact that we have that power to inflict emotional pain on others should drive us to get better control of it. Why do we want to inflict emotional pain on those around us? We should not. So it's a dangerous emotion if you don't figure out how to control it. I think I'm going back on something that I did say earlier. I think anger can be used productively if you know how to control it.
Right.
I know I dropped off there for a second.
No, that's fine. You didn't skip a beat.
But the all right. So yeah, the power comes with getting that control. And how do you do that? It's in taking stock of where you are, the stories that you're telling yourself, unwinding that spool, and then taking that forward, and you know, that feedback loop that you referenced at the beginning. All these are feedback loops. If we're not learning from them, then we're only regressing. So we need to take stock in who we are, learn from the mistakes we've made. I mean, something that we do in the military, after every operation that we do, after every training operation, real world operation, is we debrief. Yeah, we debrief. We do what's called an AAR, an after action report. We're like, okay, what did we do right? That's all great. What did we do wrong? And normally that list is super long. And the next time you do fewer of those things wrong, and the next time fewer, until you get to the point where you're doing it the way you want to do it. Well, that's how we need to do our lives. We need to take stock in every argument that we get into, every time we get angry, and just take a pause, take a few deep breaths, and we're like, okay, what is going wrong here? This is my personal after action report, right? What's going wrong here? What am I doing wrong here? And change that. And if you can change it once, then you can change it again and again and again, to where you have control of your own emotions.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
We're kind of closing. Well, let's close
Yeah, man.
out. But I think
Sorry,
what
I
you
was
brought up
rambling.
at the end here. No, not at all, John. This is all this is valuable. Everything we're talking about is I think is so valuable because the awareness is creating. But I
Yeah.
think anybody that's listening and followed through, you know, take, you know, what John was talking about earlier. Take stock in one event that brought you anger, that you acted on that anger, and what were those results, and go back and you can relive that circumstance in your mind, and then what would you do differently? You know, because anger is anger. It's like whether it's showing up like, you know, whether something happened 5 years ago or something that happened like 2 days ago, you know, it's still the same anger. It's still the same emotion, and it still has the same wire. Just because the circumstances are different doesn't mean that the emotion is any different, right? And you're still acting the same way, but just in different ways.
Right.
You know? So how can you or maybe write down, like, I'm a big fan of journaling, right? Write down like how you can do things or how you can work with anger differently.
Yeah.
So, and really being, I think, very clear, which I think is important, is what is the result that you do want, you know, and then how do you get to that result?
Right.
So,
yeah. And one thing I want to make sure we mention today,
yeah.
being that it is 9/11.
Oh, yeah. God bless, man. 9/11.
Yeah,
God bless.
absolutely, right. But what did that cause us as a country, right? It caused us a lot of heartache and sadness that then was manifested as anger, right? And I think in a way that's justifiable, being angry at such a horrendous and tragic event.
Right.
But just the whole point of this episode is to kind of dissect anger. So what did that anger come from? It came from shock. It came from sadness, and it is forever a day that we will look back in sadness.
Yeah.
And also gratitude for those who responded to the call, were there on scene, saved so many lives. I mean, I know we lost so many, right? But there were heroes that day that got so many people out of the Twin Towers, got people out of the Pentagon, the people who were on shoot, I'm forgetting the flight number, but that took that flight down because they were heroes. So anyway, I just feel that we would be remiss if we don't say something about 9/11 today.
And you were out there, you know, fighting for us, you know, because of 9/11. So thank you for sure.
Thanks, brother.
And you know, and lots of thanks, a lot of big thanks. And but that's a really great way to. And let me just point out one thing about that anger. You know, that can quickly turn to hate, right?
Yes.
But I think we have to understand it's a small group of people, and not like a group of billion people, right? You know, just because of the way they believe. So like, that's a very clear distinction. You know, the actions of few make us like act or feel or look at a whole billion people in a completely different way, which is completely untrue.
Yeah. And completely irrational, irrational. So, so that anger has caused hatred that is not rational at all. So again, the anger driving an irrational emotion.
There you go. Yeah. So,
right on.
All right, let me take us home.
Let's do it.
Just a couple minutes, everybody. So find a seat. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Thank yourself for showing up and taking in these words and some of this wisdom. Well, let's just find a few breaths just to kind of ground all of this, all these ideas, this conversation, or maybe some feelings that came up for you. So let's take an inhale. Big open chest, big loving heart. Exhale through the nose or through the mouth, your choice. Good. Bigger breath in. Exhale out. Yeah, feel like grounding through your body and your sit bones, through your spine. One more big inhale. And let it go. And then just think of one circumstance. And the first one that comes to mind around anger, just be with that one. Just reimagine it. Just remember that event, that circumstance that drove you into some sort of results that you regretted, And then I invite you, and John and I invite your homework this week, or maybe later today or tonight, is take 10 or 20 minutes, half an hour, and go through how you would do things differently based on the outcome that you wanted in that circumstance, and how you can begin to understand anger as an opportunity for something greater than the destruction that anger usually brings. You can start this exercise by just what we're doing now, taking a bunch of breaths, set a timer for 3 or 4 minutes, go back to that place, relive it in your mind and in your feelings, and then be with where you wanted to, what the intention or what you would rather the outcome be. And then how do you get there? Like kind of reverse engineering from the outcome you wanted to the circumstance that initiated the other outcome. Gonna take a big breath in. Exhale, sigh it out, sigh it out. And thank you, John. Thank you all for that out there that are listening, and we'll listen later. Episode 15. We're gonna keep we're gonna keep talking about emotions. We might tap a little bit next week into anger again. Please send your questions, and because we would love to share them and hear from you, and let us know how we can help you. And another great time, John. Great conversation.
Yeah.
And we'll be back
Thank you, brother.
Friday.
Thanks, and thanks for allowing me to truly unravel some of these things live on Instagram with you. And I feel like I'm in a better place after this conversation.
Me too.
I feel like I will be in a better place and in more control moving forward this week. So thank you for this space. Thank you for this time. And thank you as always for making me a better person, brother.
Yeah, same here. Ditto, John. And again, to all the brothers and sisters in 9/11, thank you.
Absolutely.
And I'll see you guys all next week. I'll see you next week, John. Or not going to see
All right.
anybody else but you. But have a great time, and I'll be in touch. And thank you, everybody.
All right, take
again.
care, bro. Have a great weekend.
Hey,
Bye-bye.
thank you, you too. Bye.
Thanks for joining Will and John on Men Talking Mindfulness. If you enjoyed the show, please like and share it with your friends and family, and please, we would appreciate a review too. Until next time, this has been Men Talking Mindfulness. Thanks for showing up.